Hello, everybody. Today, my neighbor is playing very loud music. I'm hoping that Zoom sort of distills it and buffers it out. But in the meantime, jam into it. Okay, so we have been doing a little series within our series. So we're in our daily December embodiment series, and we are in this book, The Drummer and the Great Mountain, a guidebook to transforming adult ADD, ADHD by Michael Joseph Ferguson. And I've mentioned this, and regardless of whether you have been diagnosed as neurodivergent in some way, we do as creatives train into allowing our focus to be shiftable and to go towards interest and to be creative. And there is a fair amount of intentional, trained, and honed neurodivergence that comes with the life of a creative artist. And so a lot of creatives have a more challenging time with the more practical aspects of life and integrating those things, and or we keep them very compartmentalized and they don't really overlap each other. And so what I love about at least my relationship so far with the portions of this book that I have been working with is that it feels very inclusive of the both and, which I think is so wonderful. And a lot of what I am called to do for self-care for performers, regardless of my little coping strategies and resentments and pushbacks of my internal body that's like, but I don't want to, is to find a way to integrate masculine and feminine, right and wrong, good and bad, dark and light, right brain, left brain, mind and body, all of the yin and yang kind of principles of life that's all about polarity and flow and allowing things to find that infinity. And then we can flow like that through our lives. A little swimming. Okay. So we are in the life visioning chapter of this book, and we have read about the essential components of visioning, which, as a recap, are to provide clarity about what you want to create, clarify what you don't want to create, and then create a basic roadmap to work from. So those are the three things that no matter what specific processes you use, that visioning should accomplish. Those three things: what you want, what you don't want, and a basic roadmap of how you think you might get there. Got it? Okay. Yesterday we did visioning step 1, which was all about getting clear about our talents and skill sets. And you can watch the video from yesterday, which is titled Talents and Abilities, if you want to dive into practice there. And again, on my Self-Care for Performers Patreon, in the Self-Care Garden is what I've been calling it, you have access to also printable downloads for each day's practice. So if you like to have the security of a stable piece of paper and that helps you track what it is you're doing, because I'm running through my own practice here, that can help you take the practice that I'm sharing with you and fold it into your own self-care resourcing. We are going to move on to the next section today, which is mining your daydreaming for clues. We all fantasize about what our perfect life could look like, and this is visioning step 2. Perhaps deep down, everyone knows what they're here to do. Our daydreaming can often be a doorway into this wiser aspect of ourselves. And there's a quote by Mark Twain in here that says, "The two most important days in your life are the day you were born and the day you figure out why." How beautiful. Okay. Today is exploring your subconscious, and it asks us to take a moment. So go ahead and take a moment. Close your eyes and recall what you've been daydreaming about the past few months. Maybe you already feel that washing over your system. Things might be rising and falling in and out of your awareness. And as outlandish and seemingly unattainable as some of your dreams may be, write them out in as much detail as possible. So that's a practice and exercise for you to fold into your solo practice. Once you do that, you can look through what you've written. Can you detect a pattern? Is there a theme to the fantasies? Are they pointing you in a specific direction? Many of them may be communications of unmet needs, like companionship, respect, rest, etc., while others may directly relate to potential goals and activities to pursue. Almost always, there's some useful material in there. Make note of what your subconscious may be offering up to you and use these insights as you move forward in the visioning exercise. Okay. We are going to do this in a moment. However, I have this awareness that is getting the best of me right now. So we're going to allow it to happen because I'm really feeling the pull in my body. So yesterday when we did the life visioning talents and abilities, we did the intro and then the exercises, but there was a little bit written after it that I didn't see. And I really want to read it before we do this step 2. So indulge me and we will read this together. So this is after yesterday's practice. So if you want to know what yesterday's practice was a little bit more, hit pause, go back, watch that video first, and then you can come back to this one. So this is the recap after yesterday's practice. You may find the first things that emerge center around travel, things you would buy, etc. Write all this out and see if you can get to something that may indicate a specific skill or endeavor you'd like to pursue. Next, spend time reading back what you've written, perhaps refining it as you go. What did it reveal? This exercise is immensely effective at delving into your subconscious, so you may want to revisit it a number of times over the next few days. Each time you do, you'll gain further inspiration and clarity. Perhaps, as is often the case, a critical inner voice may show up saying something like, "This is silly and pointless," or "You're just going to get your hopes up if you spend time doing this." Acknowledge those voices and, for the moment, set them aside. I acknowledge you. We're going over here, and keep going. That's one for me. I get distracted a lot by those voices and I want to work it out relationally. And part of my willingness to do that is actually something that I think is one of my gifts is being able, willing, wanting to do that and finding clarity. Yet I also know that sometimes there's a bit of a self-sabotaging cycle that I get looped into with that. I get very distracted in whether those are voices in my internal system or voices in my external world that I want to try to find a way through when things are not working. Maybe you relate to that too. Okay. And I am also recognizing the necessity and the validity of choosing not to do that all the time, being very choice about when to do that. And knowing that I have the skills to do that is great. And that I can utilize my discernment and my sense of reciprocity to really feel whether or not it's in right relationship towards myself and towards the other inner voice or external individual or group of others that I choose to engage in that way with. The point of this exercise is to catalyze your creativity, getting you to the core of what you love and what inspires you. So good. By doing this, you are tapping into that inner fuel source. An inner like life force, fuel source, inner flame, creative inspiration, all of that like inner stuff. I love that stuff. That is very much aligned and attuned to how my work works and what is compatible for me and how I need to exist in the world. And I have also had a history of helping others find that in themselves while suppressing and containing my own, or letting it out in bursts here and there, or feeling like I keep trying. And maybe if others let theirs out and they see that I can hold space for them, they'll hold space for me. And sometimes that has been the case, and oftentimes enough, and especially with enough core relationships, that wasn't the case. And you really have to treat people not how you wish to be treated, I'm finding you have to train them how to treat you the way you deserve, the way you want, the way that's compatible to your own needs. And that takes a different, it's a switch. It's from people pleaser to assertiveness. Part of what self-care for performers is, it's also training those of us who've been entrenched and ingrained into people pleaser dynamics as performing artists, as service-based identities, as marginalized folk, as people who are taught to show up in a certain kind of way that feels subservient, how we can stand up and advocate for ourselves. Because when that happens, something in the dynamic around us shifts. And I've seen over and over again in my classes, when someone who has been treated poorly over and over and just sort of takes it or rolls with it or manipulates their perspective in order to think, well, no, they're not doing that thing that they're telling me they're doing. That's not good. And I would be very mad if I let that be the case. When they can flip that switch and go, oh, this is not okay, and I am not okay with it, something in the surrounding areas shifts, and there is a change in the respect that is felt in the group dynamic. And of course, there's always exceptions to the pattern. So if that wasn't your case, that might not mean that you were doing it wrong. It might just mean that the potentiality or compatibility just really wasn't there. And I think it's important that we also don't shame or blame ourselves when we're really trying to advocate for ourselves. We're really practicing assertiveness behavior and people aren't getting it. Part of that is also learning how to unhook and then walk away and let go of those dynamics that really aren't willing to work with us. And that is a bit of like a codependency piece. I struggle with that one too. I really want to work things out with people, often more times than is healthy, healing, or right for me, in order to really recover a sense of stability of identity and capacity in the world. And I have just been devastated over and over, financially and emotionally and physically and spiritually, like cyclically, just devastated. And I can't do that anymore, which is why we're here in Self-Care for Performers. It's as much for you as it is for me. And I've thought at the beginning of this project that I needed to make it about you and for you. And my body was like reacting in like a no, it has to be for me too. It doesn't fulfill our actual core need if I'm not included in the process of recovery, of creative recovery and soul retrieval that I'm inviting you into. I have to be a part of it too, because I've done it the other way enough times to know that if I'm not consciously connecting to my own experience of that, I'm going to create an imbalance in the relationship between you and I, the witness, the general witness of all of you who watch these videos or connect with my work or come in and out of connection. And because there is a blanket wash of social media and YouTube, and I don't know who's going to see it, that's scary. It's different than being in container with someone. I'm inviting you to practice and side by side sort of solo experiences, but I am here and you are witnessing me and I am having my own experience. And there's something about that that's really terrifying to me in some way. It feels very vulnerable and scary. And I've had to work through really feeling like a target and having the awareness of trolls that exist on the internet, and already throughout the course of my career, the kinds of comments that I've received in certain capacities. It's hard when you want to connect with your audience because that's important to build relationship, community, trust, safety, invitation to come deeper into connection cycles where I could provide some form of coaching. Yet also, in order to make myself available and vulnerable to that, I have been needing to find different ways of understanding how I'm doing that so that when inevitably, and I hope this doesn't happen a lot, I hope it doesn't happen ever, but you can't control these things. When I get a reactive something from somebody or a sort of pointed, targeted cruelty or trolling of sorts, that I can retain my resiliency, that it doesn't actually land upon me, that I am guarded enough, that I am distanced enough, that I am strong enough to be fortified against microaggressions and like macro dynamics of really potentially hateful things that exist. And that's hard. That's really hard. Okay, continuing on. The point of this exercise is to catalyze your creativity, getting you to the core of what you love and what inspires you. By doing this, you are tapping into that inner fuel source, which we were just speaking about, necessary to make meaningful changes in all areas of your life. Yes. So as we become more self-caring as performing artists, we also become more resilient and capable and relational with the full gamut of our lives, our family, our romance, our friends, our community connections, and then also our networking and our business relational dynamics and how that works as well. For both myself and my coaching clients, this exercise has been quite effective at untangling, separating out core life passions from self-judgments, limiting belief systems, and expectations placed on us by others. I've made several major life decisions based solely on the results of this exercise. Remember, there are no right or wrong answers. It's more about the process. I love process. Process driven. Keep in mind your answers will most likely change over time. I love that too, changeability. Keep this list handy as you go through the other visioning exercises. So that was the list we did yesterday. That was the recap. And that felt really important for me to integrate all of that information into my own sense of knowing. And hopefully there's some medicine in there for you too, for your own experience. We already read the visioning step 2, mining your daydreaming for clues. And then we were going to go into the practice, which is exploring your subconscious. And I read that as well. We did a little bit of a brief meditation. So now I'm going to stand up and I'm going to step into it. So for me, I'm going to embody this practice, which is take a moment, close your eyes, and recall what you've been daydreaming about the past few months. And to me, that's mostly about feeling like I have capacity to keep going, that I have capacity to receive, that I have engagement from others that doesn't feel like I have to protect myself, but actually feels like I have a readiness to receive. And I have really done a lot to build the structure and framework of things that I feel like I can receive you for those who are interested now. And that feels solid and good. As outlandish and seemingly unattainable as some of your dreams may be, write them out in as much detail as possible. When I first started, that did feel outlandish and unattainable. The concept of being able to just speak widely to others and then invite you into connection and be able to have some sort of systems set up in order to receive you as you were ready to come into connection. That was terrifying to me. I was like, there are so many ways you can do that. There are so many apps and systems and funnels and things that it just, my whole brain would scramble. And maybe you feel this way too, as a performing artist or as an entrepreneur or soulpreneur, is that there are so many ideas about how to succeed. And there are so many voices out there that are so certain about this is what you need in order to book the role, get the job, have the clients, progress this way in your career, find the love, the right match, the excellent physical persona or prowess in order to magnetize what you want. And in some ways, I do teach elements of that. And from the teachers that I've also studied with, well, they might use certain languaging that is designed in order to attract clientele. And I'm learning how to do that without feeling terrible about myself in the process. Like utilizing the skill set while feeling like it can come from some form of authenticity has been hard for me, because there are the tools and the skills, and you might find this also as a performing artist, like you start learning something new to practice, and the first time you do it, it might all of a sudden make sense. It also might feel very clunky and very weird, and you need to practice for a while, and you're not sure, do I have the ability to make this feel or seem natural and organic and believable in the moment? Is there a way for me to connect to this that would feel relationally sound to my needs? And I don't have the answer for you with that. The process of uncovering that is what I'm doing right here for me. So maybe some of whatever you have that's similar to that, you can tune into with how I move through my stuff. And It might not work for you in the way that you need, but maybe there are some insights or some moments that will be a match card. And if anything, there's a bridge of empathy and a willingness to be in more deeper connection and intimacy and finding out how we're different from each other that is available. Okay. So now look through what you've written. Basically doing what I'm doing, except for now I actually need to receive you. Now I actually need to have people who are interested in coming into connection so that then there's a process of meeting you further and having the conversations and the calls and the scheduling and the cyclical connections and the appointments and then the meeting them and the showing up for you and the being here for me and then being relational for the support that is best suited for the growth that you are desirous of. Can you detect a pattern? Stability. I want stability, capacity, availability. I want mutuality. I want to feel a connection that feels really right and trustworthy and trustable. Is there a theme to the fantasies? Stability. I want consistency. I want consistency of flow. I want interrelational safety and I want financial fluency. I want to feel financially supportive for the first time in my life. There was a 3 to 4 month stretch of time where I was like, this feels good. I could retain this. And everything else has either been I've had to like do something to my psyche where there was so much suicide ideation present for me to be financially stable, or I was working through what I needed to work through. And in many ways, my life felt great, but there was no money. And I'm in a place right now where there's been a solid couple of years and a couple of beautiful clients, but there's not a thriving wealth of full practice. And I also have been caretaking for family members and had a lot of family dynamics and health problems that I've needed to step in to help care for. I'm grateful that I've stepped in to do those things. And it's also been very taxing in certain ways because it leads upon those old patterns that I learned that I'm in the process of untangling from. So the untangling I did there is also I'm able to transfer some of that out here into our connection together. And you'll find that a lot with this kind of work, that there are transferable skills and the things that you learned for your business, the things that you learned for your craft in performance. Not all of it, because some of it needs to be deconstructed and wasn't helpful. But a lot of it is going to be fantastic to learn how to transfer and translate those skills into other facets of your life. Are they pointing you in a specific direction? Yeah, I want to be really clear with you about who I am and what I need, what I want, and then see if you're a match so that it's less about finding you and seeing what you want and if you're a match for me, but I'm just going to do more that magnetism skill, which is this is who I am. This is what I want. This is how I feel. This is what I sense and know and trust and love and how I practice and what I'm going to invite into connection between us. And then those of you who relate with that, I'm going to trust you to reach out when, if, as you are ready. And then we'll go from there moment to moment. And we'll find a clarity around container as well. And then into that, there's always a bit of a, how are we feeling now? Does this still work? Where are we going next? What's alive today? How is your body in this moment? So we practice the tracking and attunement. And then when we find something that really needs attention, we give it that attention. We love on it. We also create enough separation to where we can watch the experience. And even if we choose to allow parts of ourselves to be flooded by it or through it or as it, so that it can find a connection point and a resolution, there's always some part of our psyche, our awareness that retains clarity so that we feel safe to come back to an orientation of identity, of self. That when we dissolve certain aspects of our patterns, that we don't feel like we lose all of who we are. And I've done that plenty of times. And also sometimes it's important to go through cycles like that. So I also want to, if that's you and if that's what you've been through, my heart to you. And I don't want to say that you're doing something wrong or this shouldn't be happening in this way. If that is happening, that's also something we would just meet there in compassion and just be with the truth of that and how hard that is. So there's that too. No shame, no blame. Awareness, choice, but not criticism and shame. We say many of them may be communications of unmet needs, these things. So I need stability. I need financial fluency. I need to be able to stand still and clear in who I am and allow you to decide to come and meet me. And then we find our way forward together. So these unmet needs may be things like companionship, respect, rest, etc. for yours, while others may directly relate to potential goals, activities to pursue. Mine are very clear and I've reiterated them a couple of times, but ultimately it's being held. I need to feel like I am held so that I can help you feel held, so that you can also return to a sense of self-security as I own my own security of self. Almost always there's some useful material in there. Make note of what your subconscious may be offering up to you and use these insights as you move forward in the visioning exercise. I feel like that's all we needed, but let me embody a little something. We kind of already did embodiment, but I'm going to like stand up and do the thing. Don't know that we need to, but let's do it anyways. I am now, what was this one? What's the title? Exploring my subconscious. Mining my daydreaming for clues. I like that one. I am now mining my daydreaming for clues. I just feel like a little warbly flag going back and forth. And this is like the daydream. And the daydream feels easy and light and relational. I feel like I'm able to wave to people around me. I'm able to be like distant enough from myself, from my body to be like, hello, hello, hello. There's like a gentleness and it's not to be like, you stay over there, but there is a like, I am so happy to meet you. And also there's a clarity of containment around me that feels really necessary. Sort of ease and light-filled, bright, light, effervescence, ability. And so much of these earlier embodiments have been me falling to the floor and descending and descending. And I love my death cycles and I love my rest and I love to be there. And also it feels so good to finally be able to just stand here and be like, I feel stable. I feel secure. I feel clear. I feel aligned. I feel healthy. I feel whole. And I'm going to drink that in. And open my arms up. And just call more of that in. And anything that's not like that, I'm just going to send down to the earth. And we're going to do that again. Up and open. And anything that's not feeling in that way, send down to the earth. And then I'm just going to shake it off. And then tap my body so I can feel the edges of my physical form. Hello, I'm here. Hello, I'm here, everybody. Hello, I'm here. Are you here too? Are you here too? I'm here. We're here together. Okay, I think that's it. Hair down, celebrate, hairography. I love you. I'll see you tomorrow. Bye.